Good afternoon and many thanks for joining us on News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. I'm David Alabi with news making the headlines. Now, according to the press release signed by Yusuf Olaniyonu, Special Advisor, Media and Publicity to President of the Senate, and Turaki Hassan, Special Advisor, Media and Public Affairs to Speaker, House of Representatives, there is no date for National Assembly reconvening on INEC budget. The statement, which was released this morning, reads in part, quote, "The President of the Senate, Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki, and Speaker, House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, have directed that we inform all senators, honorable members, and the public that a date has not been set for the reconvening of the Senate and the House of Representatives to consider the Independent National Electoral Commission 2019 elections budget request forwarded by President Muhammadu Buhari on July 17, 2018. The leadership of the two chambers had met and agreed to reconvene to consider the proposal this week, before which a meeting between the Joint Senate and House of Representatives committees on electoral matters and officials of the INEC must have held on or before Monday, August 13, 2018. Meanwhile, the President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, has said there is no plan to declare the seat of Senator Godswill Akpabio or that of any other defecting lawmaker vacant. Dr. Saraki was reacting to reports that there were such plans and a reaction to it by Mr. Akpabio, who recently joined Nigeria's ruling APC from the main opposition, PDP. At least 15 senators have changed parties in the past month, including Mr. Saraki, who moved from the APC to the PDP. Senator Saraki's media aide Yusuf Olaniyonu said on Tuesday that rumor to declare any seat vacant was false. The spokesperson was making reference to the current recess of the National Assembly, which was expected to be suspended this week. However, Mr. Saraki and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, released a joint statement on Tuesday, saying there was no date yet for resumption. Now, talking party politics, the All Progressives Congress has said it has uncovered plans by the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to attack her senators as a way of frustrating their efforts to effect a change in the leadership of the Senate. This was as the party accused the Senate President of high treason, saying his actions, which border on placing personal interest above national interest, must be curtailed. Quote, Saraki's decision not to reconvene the National Assembly, done with the support of the Speaker, House of Representatives, Honorable Yakubu Dogara, further buttresses our position that Saraki is ever ready to pursue selfish interest over national interest. This is another brazen display of his penchant for abuse of power and sabotage of government. However, the cost and implications are diverse, APC added. Two lawmakers, Senators Rafiu Adebayo and Senator Issa Mizal, have sued the Attorney General of the Federation, the police, the Department of State Services, and the Senate, and 7 others in order to stop their attempts to remove Senate President Bukola Saraki. Senators Adebayo and Mizal, who are supporters of Senator Saraki, instituted the fresh court action before a federal high court sitting in Abuja on Monday. Other defendants in the suit are the majority and deputy majority leaders of the Senate, the clerk of the Senate, the deputy clerk of the Senate President, the deputy Senate President, and the deputy minority leader. Senators Adebayo and Mizal, who represent Kwara South and Bauchi Central senatorial districts respectively, also want the court to determine whether Senator Saraki can be compelled to vacate his office on the grounds that he is not a member of the political party with a majority of senators in the Senate, in view of the combined reading of the Section 50 of the Constitution and Order 3, Rule 8 of the Senate Standing Orders. Now, an Ikeja High Court has dismissed the murder charge filed against Mr. Moshood Salvador, the chairman of the Lagos chapter of PDP. Mr. Salvador was remanded in the Kirikiri prisons following his arraignment at a Yaba Chief Magistrate's Court, alongside 10 others, on 2 counts of conspiracy and unlawful killing on July 25. During Tuesday's proceedings, the vacation judge, Justice Obafemi Adamson, dismissed charge after entertaining submissions from counsels in a counter-suit challenging the charge filed by Salvador against the state. Justice Adamson in the ruling said that in view of the advice from the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecution, which exonerated the PDP chairman from the murder charge, Salvador should be released from the Kirikiri prison. Salvador and 10 other defendants were charged over the alleged murder of Mr. Adeniyi Aborisade, the PDP chairman of the Apapa local government area. Mr. Aborisade was allegedly murdered on July 21 during the PDP's visitation meeting that held in Igboshuku village, Etiosa local government area. Men of the Anti-Riot Squad of Kwara State Police Command have arrested 5 students of College of Education, Ilorin, who masterminded the protest that rocked the state's capital yesterday. Students of the college staged a peaceful protest over alleged distortion of their second semester examination and over 4.5 months unpaid salaries of their lecturers by the state government. The students' protest, which reportedly paralyzed commercial activities at Sawmill area, where the institution is located, also caused gridlock around the area. Spokesman of the command, DSP Ajayi Okasomi, who confirmed the arrest of the affected students in Ilorin yesterday, said, "Our men have arrested 5 of the students who are ringleaders of the protest. They are presently being interrogated over the protest." Still on education, a 54-year-old man who pretended to be a professor of animal husbandry at the University of Ibadan has been arrested by the Oyo State Police Command. He was apprehended after fraudulently collecting 1 million naira from a man under the pretext of manufacturing animal multivitamins for him. Parading the suspect, the State Commissioner of Police Abiodun Odudode said the suspect Olayinka Emmanuel acted in connivance with an accomplice, Adegoke Adewumi, 53, to obtain the sum from Kolawole Kamorudeen. He said, quote, "The duo lied to the victim that they were manufacturers of animal multivitamins. Believing them, the suspect parted with the sum, only to later discover that the so-called multivitamins supplied to him were grinded green beans." We'll take a quick break now. Stay tuned for more news. Don't go anywhere. Glad to have you back. Now, if you're just joining us, you're watching news on the hour on Plus TV Africa. Now, bringing you other stories, 6 people, 5 of them police, were killed in a terrorist attack in eastern Burkina Faso, the Defense Ministry said late Monday. 5 people, 4 gendarmes and a civilian were killed on Saturday when the vehicle struck a mine at about 100 kilometers from Fada Ngoma, the chief town in the east of the Sahel country, it said in a statement. A 6th person, also a gendarme, was killed later in a shootout with their assailants. The attack happened while their convoy was returning from escorting a mission to a mining complex at Bungu, the ministry said. Burkina Faso had battled an escalating wave of jihadist attacks over the last 3 years, beginning in the north of the country, but now spreading to the east, near the border with Togo and Benin. The security forces have carried out a series of arrests in recent months, detaining hundreds of people in connection with the attacks. We now move over to Uganda, where 3 lawmakers and some of their supporters critical of President Yoweri Museveni were arrested after stones were thrown at Museveni's convoy late on Monday in a town in the country's northwest, a police spokesman said on Tuesday. Emirian Kayima told a news conference that supporters of the independent candidate Kassiano Wadri had obstructed and attacked Museveni's convoy in Ara, and that one of the vehicles in the convoy had its rear windscreen shattered. Quote, "It is criminal to obstruct and attack the presidential motorcade," end of quote. Democratic Republic of Congo has started using the experimental MAB-114 Ebola treatment developed in the U.S. by the National Institutes of Health on patients in the east of the country, the health ministry said on Tuesday, the first time it has been deployed against an active outbreak. The outbreak in eastern Congo's North Kivu province has now spread to neighboring Ituri province, where a person who was a confirmed case died after returning home from the flare-ups epicenter in the North Kivu town of Mangina, the ministry said in a statement. 5 new cases have been confirmed, the ministry said, bringing the total number of cases to 57. The ministry said that 41 people are believed to have died in all from the hemorrhagic fever. The Zambian government has approved a bill to regulate social media and enhance cyber security. The chief government spokesperson, Dora Siliya, said the cabinet approved the Cybersecurity and Cybercrimes Bill, which will replace some clauses in the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act of 2009. The bill will also facilitate the establishment of the cybersecurity regulator, which will help protect Zambia's critical infrastructure from cyber attacks. Also, the government introduced a tariff charge on internet calls to protect jobs in the telecommunication sector. Now we'll move over to South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa has launched a sanitation appropriate for education initiative at Sheraton Hotel in Pretoria on Tuesday, 5 months after a 5-year-old Lumka Mketwa fell into a toilet pit in a school in Cape Town. The president noted that this initiative was launched in order to encourage collective action among South Africans to give children something that others would have taken for granted. Quote, "We are here to ask you to be part of a bold social initiative to ensure that every school in the country has safe and appropriate sanitation facilities," he said. When we return, we'll bring you more stories from the foreign scene. Stay tuned. And on the foreign scene, a motorway bridge collapsed on Tuesday over the northern Italian port city of Genoa in what the transport minister said was likely to be an immense tragedy. The head of local ambulance service said there were dozens of dead people, Italian news agency reported. The local fire brigade also said victims were likely dead after the bridge collapsed at about 11:30 a.m. during torrential rainfall. An ambulance official told Reuters that the service could only confirm 2 injured people so far, but we suppose there are unfortunately a lot dead. Italian television showed images of the collapsed bridge, which was built on the A10 toll motorway in the 1960s. Restructuring work on the bridge was carried out in 2016. Police arrested a man on the suspicion of terrorism offences on Tuesday, saying he appeared to deliberately drive into cyclists before ramming a car into the security barriers outside the British Parliament in what appeared to be the second attack on the building in just under 18 months. The man in his 20s injured 3 people as he drove through a group of cyclists and pedestrians before hitting a barrier outside Parliament during the early morning rush hour. Quote, "Given that this appears to be a deliberate act, the method and this being an iconic site, we are treating it as a terrorist incident," end of quote. And that's a statement from the London Assistant Commissioner, Neil Busu, who said that operating policemen were supposed to cover the security situation. None of the injuries were life-threatening so far.
I've seen a man driving towards Houses of Parliament at speed. He was getting pretty fast, in my opinion. I think it's a 20 miles to 30 miles per hour zone. He was getting at maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour.
At 7:37 a.m, a silver Ford Fiesta was involved in a collision in front of the Houses of Parliament. That vehicle collided with cyclists and pedestrians before hitting a barrier and coming to a stop. 2 people have been taken to hospital. 1 man has already been discharged and 1 woman remains in hospital being treated for serious but thankfully non-life-threatening injuries. Another man was also treated at the scene but didn't require hospital treatment. The driver of the Fiesta, who was alone in the vehicle, was arrested at the scene by armed officers who were already nearby. The man is in his late 20s and he's been arrested on suspicion of terrorism offences and has been taken to a South London police station where he remains in custody.
Away from that development, President Tayyip Erdogan said on Tuesday Turkey will boycott electronic products from the United States, retaliating in a dispute with Washington that has helped to drive the lira to record lows. The lira has lost more than 40% this year and crashed to an all-time low of 7.24 to the dollar early on Monday, hit by worries over Erdogan's call for lower interest rates and worsening ties with the United States. The weakness of the Turkish currency has rippled through global markets. Its drop off as much as 18% on Friday hit US and European stocks as investors fretted about banks' exposure to Turkey. The United States has imposed sanctions on 2 Turkish ministers over the trial on terrorism charges of a US evangelical pastor in Turkey, and last week Washington raised tariffs on Turkish metal exports. Erdogan said his government would offer further incentives to companies planning to invest in Turkey and said firms should be put out by economic uncertainty. Lawyers for Paul Manafort will have the opportunity on Tuesday to put up their defense a day after U.S. prosecutors rested their case against the former campaign chairman, President Donald Trump, in his trial over alleged tax and bank fraud. Manafort's legal team have asked for their charges to be thrown out, claiming in a court filing on Monday that prosecutors under the U.S. Special Counsel Robert Mueller failed to show the necessary willfulness to break the law. Judge T.S. Ellis said he would talk to Manafort on Tuesday about whether he wanted to take the stand in his defense, a move a legal experts say is highly unlikely. Manafort's lawyer would also tell the court on Tuesday whether they plan to call any witnesses. If the defense rests, closing statements would be next, after which 12-person jury will begin deliberations. Manafort has been tried on 18 counts, which include tax and bank fraud charges, as well as the failure to disclose foreign bank accounts. If found guilty on all charges, he could face 8 to 10 years in prison, according to sentencing. We now bring you business reports with Edidiong Iwang.
This is Business News, and I'm Edidiong Iwang. Well, the Debt Management Office has disclosed that it raised 410 billion naira from the domestic capital market to fund the 2018 budget. Now, Ms. Patience Oniha, the Director General of the DMO, said this at a press briefing in Abuja this morning. She also gave a breakdown of the nation's public debt, which currently stands at 22.37 trillion naira as at the end of June 2018. Now, this is an equivalent of $73.31 billion, for which $22 billion was external. She, however, said the debt incurred is sustainable and her team has been able to crash interest rates to the 11 to 14% region from the initial 18% it was in 2017. Nigeria's acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has expressed his delight regarding the $16 billion Egina floating project storage offloading. He believes the Nigerian economy must be private sector-led. According to him, Nigerian budget is about 9 trillion naira and the total Egina FPSO project in naira terms is about 5 trillion naira. This, in his view, shows that the project alone is several times more than the federal government spending on infrastructure. But Mr. Nicholas Terras, the managing director of Total Upstream Nigeria, said the company would continue to invest in Nigeria's economy as it had invested over $10 billion in the last 5 years. Well, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and Seplat Petroleum Development Company have signed 5 agreements to develop a gas production project aimed at delivering 3.4 billion standard cubic feet of gas per day by 2020. Now, the statement released by the corporation explains that the new gas project was part of efforts by the NNPC to bridge the projected minimum-term gas supply gap in Nigeria between 2020. NNPC Group General Manager Public Affairs, Mr. Ndu Gamadu, said in a statement that the project called Asa North and Ohija South Gas Development Scheme is one of the 7 critical gas development projects that will boost gas production and infrastructure development in the country. Well, that's it on Business News, but still to come is our roundup on entertainment and sports. We'll be back in a moment.
And in entertainment, popular South African fitness trainer Sibale Mpisane's health has made concrete progress following a high compact car crash in Durban during the early hours of Thursday morning. According to a news source, Mpisane's father, Sbu, said today is the first positive day concrete progress has been unfolding, and without going into medical details, her internal bleeding has stopped or extremely lessened, he said, adding that although she's breathing on her own, she remains on life support as a precautionary measure. Colonel Thembeka Mbele, a police spokesperson, said they are currently investigating a case of reckless and negligent driving at the Durban Central Police Station. The cause of the accident is still unknown at this stage. Circumstances around the incident are currently being investigated. Cartoon Network Channel has launched a brand new initiative, Cartoon Network Africa Creative Lab. The new idea will encourage African talents, creators, writers, graphic artists, animation students, and anyone who loves to develop kids' content to discover their creative talent and have the opportunity to produce a short animated comedy. The Cartoon Network Africa Creative Lab entry is currently ongoing across the continent for African animators aged 18 and above, or any African-based company can do a 1 to 3 minute animated comedy with an English dialogue, which must definitely fall in the comedy aspect of Cartoon Network values. Submissions for the project will close on the 31st of August 2018. In September, 10 projects will be shortlisted and local creators will get the opportunity to pitch their idea to Cartoon Network Africa's content programming team. The winners will get an opportunity to get their project produced as a pilot with Cartoon Network Africa, which will premiere on Cartoon Network Africa in 2019. Following reports that American actor and stand-up comedian Chris Tucker will be storming South Africa in November, the 46-year-old has come out to call South Africa his second home. He recalls his many visits to South Africa for promotional movie tours, Thabo Mbeki's inauguration, and the Oprah Winfrey School launch. The actor says that when he visits the country in November, he plans to go on a safari and visit Nelson Mandela's home. And that's it on entertainment. The very best in sports right after this.
Hello and welcome to Sports Update on Plus TV Africa. I'm Maroon Folukufeji. In our breaking news for today, FIFA has issued ultimatums to Nigeria and Ghana that they both face bans from global football over political interference in the affairs of their governing bodies. FIFA said this on Tuesday in a final warning to the two African countries. Nigeria's ban could begin with immediate effect if by Monday, 20th of August 2018, the Nigeria Football Federation offices are not handed back to the legitimate NFF Executive Committee under President Amaju Melvin Pinnick. The suspension would be lifted only once the NFF, under President Amaju Pinnick and General Secretary Mohamed Sanusi, confirms that it has been given back effective control of the NFF and its offices. FIFA said any ban will not affect the Nigerian team currently competing in the Women's Under-20 World Cup in France, as the tournament was already underway. Ghana will also be banned this month if an order brought by the Attorney General to have the Football Association liquidated is not withdrawn by the 27th of August 2018 in a letter signed by FIFA Secretary General Fatma Samura. A global ban will put Ghana's 2019 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Kenya on 8th September in doubt. And in golf, American golfer Brooks Koepka has climbed up to #2 in the world rankings after winning his second major of the year at the PGA Championship on Sunday. The US Open champion held off challenges from fellow American Tiger Woods and Australian Adam Scott to seal the third major of his career. His victory helped to put pressure on rankings leader Dustin Johnson. And other movements in the standings, championship runner-up Tiger Woods climbed 24 spots to 26. The former world #1 underwent spinal fusion last year, but showed glimpses of his sublime form that's earned him 14 majors. That's it on Sports Update. I'm Maroon Folukufeji.
Thank you very much, Maroon Folu. And that's our news roundup of events at this hour. For more news updates and broadcast, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do remember to subscribe to our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more stories making the headlines at 6 p.m. Many thanks for watching. I'm David Alabi. Good afternoon.